Hey, friends and listeners of the Switch for Good podcast. Yep, that's you. I have some really exciting news. Dotsie and I have started a Switch for Good podcast Facebook group. We created it so we can build a community of fans that will help us improve the show and deliver on the topics that you want to learn more about. So we want to hear what your favorite content is, what you want more of, and what you want less of. And if you like the length of the show, Dotsie and I are always talking about the length of the show, right, Dotsie?
Yes.
We want to tailor our show around the needs and desires of our incredible listeners, almost 500,000 of you. And it's really simple to join. Just go to our Switch for Good Facebook page. That's Switch, the number 4, and then Good. And then click on groups. And there we are, the Switch for Good podcast chat. You can post directly in the group, share ideas, talk to other listeners, and connect with like-minded folks. So go, run, join our Facebook group and tell us what you want.
Hey out there, everyone. We're so glad that you joined us here, Switch for Good podcast. It's Alexandra and Dotsie, and we're going to talk a little bit about stress, or maybe a lot of bit about stress. In the episodes that is coming up, we really did go over stress quite a bit. And, you know, feelings of stress are normally triggered by things happening in your life, right? Things like being under quite a bit of pressure with your family or your job, facing big changes that can really bring on quite a bit of stress, or just worrying about something. I don't know if you guys are out there are worriers. I really have to be very cognizant and work very hard to not worry, right? Because we know that worry does absolutely nothing. We can be sure of that. If we worry about it, it's not going to change the outcome. This weekend, I was out in the desert and I just spoiled myself a little bit. Went to a spa and got a massage. And the massage therapist, I love to have my head and my neck and my face massaged. So I asked her to do that. Well, she started to massage my lower jaw and what felt like very firm and very aggressive. And I was like, whoa, 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 ease up, ease up, ease up. And she said, oh, I'm kind of barely touching you. I was like, oh dear. And I realized that I have been clenching my jaw, and I didn't know that I was, but it was excruciating. Her massaging it, and that night I had to take some ibuprofen, and I had a fierce headache and a fierce jaw ache. And so I started kind of unraveling, what are some of the warning signs and symptoms of stress? Like, could this be stress? And am I more stressed than I realize? Because I think sometimes we don't necessarily identify that, yes, I'm under stress. Sometimes yes, but sometimes no. So I looked up the warning signs, that kind of the pre-signs of you understanding and realizing that you are experiencing emotional stress. And lo and behold, one of the very first warning signs is grinding your teeth or clenching your jaw. Also heaviness in your chest, shoulder, neck, or back pain, headaches, shortness of breath, dizziness, or even just feeling tired all the time, kind of tired or anxious all the time. I don't think I'm grinding my teeth because I think my dentist would have told me by now. So I realized, gosh, I had no idea it was clenching my jaw like that. So I'm trying to pay more attention over the last few days that I got home from this experience to my stress, how it might be coming on, what's happening, and how I can take action to mitigate it. So I learned too, looking it up, what stress does to your body. So what emotional and mental stress, because those are the symptoms of emotional stress that I just explained, but what can it do to your body? So how can that stress transfer? It says that Dr. Google, otherwise known as AKA, that emotional stress can suppress your immune system. It can upset your digestive and reproductive systems. It can increase the risk of heart attack and stroke and speed up the aging process. it can also even rewire the brain, leaving you more vulnerable to anxiety and depression and other mental health problems. So those are a lot of negatives of what emotional stress can do to your body. So all good reasons to take action. So that's what I'm doing, have been doing, because sometimes I know when I just feel stressed, like we all do. But I'm recognizing that I'm experiencing symptoms of stress when I don't realize that I'm actually under quite a bit of stress. So I alleviate stress in 3 different ways. One is, and you guys are going to already probably guess this from knowing me a little bit on the podcast, but it's definitely exercise. When kind of traversing and understanding why I like to lean into exercise, it's because I get a really good dopamine hit. And I wanted to unravel, okay, well, why does getting a good dopamine hit, along with kind of releasing my strain, and I'll just say it, obsessing. Yes, I definitely obsess over things. And I notice when I go for a really good workout, I walk out of there and I'm not obsessing over whatever it was or overthinking something. But stress greatly affects dopamine levels and dopaminergic neural activity in the mesolimbic dopamine system. Okay, that's a whole lot of words, but it changes the dopaminergic neurotransmission. And it's important to change that up, to change the dopamine levels for coping with stress. So I thought, wow, that's exactly what it is. I'm going to exercise and I'm raising my dopamine levels, which means I am changing those neurotransmitters. And that's really important for me to be able to cope with stress. So if you use exercise as a stress reliever, that's one of the reasons of why it works. Second thing I do is walk my dog with no noise. So I don't take a phone. I don't listen to a podcast. I don't listen to music. I really just focus on her. And she's a rescue and a newer rescue. So I like to focus on the joy of her discovery in the new world that she's in, because she loves the 5-6 mile walks that we take. She'd go probably for 15 miles if I had it in me. But when I focus on her joy, and I also focus on nose breathing, and I'm not even going to go into that, but if you guys are curious on the health effects and the stress relieving effects of nose breathing, listen to our episode with James Nestor, who wrote the book called Breath. And after that episode, I started really focusing on nose breathing, not only in my exercise, but when I'm, calm as well. So walking my dog while nose breathing. And then third is doing something fun. When I feel really stressed or it's been a highly stressful week, I say to my husband, we're going to just do something fun. We're going to change up the routine, experience joy and laughter together. Even if that means, I don't know, watching stand-up comedy. I mean, that's pretty fun to us, but we just go do something that's fun. Go to Dog Beach. I don't know, whatever it is for you. But I don't think we focus enough on when am I going to have fun this week? Right? When do we ask ourselves that? So that is a wonderful stress mitigator too. So that's it.
Wow.
That's what I got for you.
So much great info. I love the nose breathing and really concentrating on the joy of your puppy.
Yeah.
Because your puppy, probably just feels no stress. And we could learn from our dogs being totally in the present instead of what you said, worrying about things that might happen. They usually don't. And it certainly doesn't help. So thanks for all that great advice.
Yeah. Animals do live in the moment and they seem to be just discovering their environment all the time. And I can learn from that so much, to just go out on a walk and discover, oh, look at that new tree. It's blooming and it's warm and it's humid and there's a bit wind, we just I don't do that. I'll speak for myself. So focusing on her discovery, which, inspires me to discover more.
Yeah, that's great.
So Anyway, we're going to dive into this episode, right? We're going to traverse stress as well. So let's dive into Camille Martin. 45 million Americans go on a diet each year. And according to the CDC, more people are dieting now than they were just 10 years ago. Diet culture looms large, but most people aren't getting what they want out of it. They're not happier and they're not losing weight. Our guest today was caught in the diet culture for 25 years. Camille Martin decided she'd rather be heavier and at peace than lighter and miserable. But she didn't gain weight. When she gave up the diet, she lost weight and found a healthier relationship with food. Now, a registered dietitian, Camille helps others find the same freedom that she did. Thank you so much for being on the show, Camille. We're really excited to dig into your story, which is very interesting, and your expertise and let go of dieting once and for all.
Yes. Well, thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be on. Yeah.
Well, I have to start here, and you knew we were going to. You emailed me what is about a month ago now and said that you and your hubby, or your boyfriend, I think.
Boyfriend, yeah.
Went vegan after watching The Game Changers.
Yes.
So before we traverse into dieting and why diets don't work and why it's not about the weight and all of the info that you have to share with us, I want to go into this because I don't think we've had anyone on the show who's just a month or so into their journey.
Yeah, well, it was really funny. My I hate saying boyfriend; it sounds so juvenile, but I just got divorced recently. And I'm dating someone. So he and I've been a vegetarian for 24 years since 1997. So I've been saying, let's try vegan. Let's just try to go full force and see what happens. And I had heard about Game Changers because I've had several friends tell me about it. And so I said, let's watch this documentary. It's about athletes who are vegan and how they have improved their performance without dairy and without meat. And I had already been booked on this podcast. So I had gotten the emails from you and Alexandra and whatever, but we were watching it and your segment came on and I said, wow, Dotsie, that is such a unique name. I said, I know her name. How would I know her name? And then I remembered, I looked on my emails and I said, I'm going to be on her podcast next month. So it was very exciting. But then I said, well, now I got to go full force because I'm about to be interviewed by her. So I decided to be completely vegan since then. And it's been a month and it's really been great. I've been a vegetarian for so long that was not a stretch, obviously, to not eat meat. I did eat cheese and I loved cheese, but since getting rid of it for a month, it's been great. I feel lighter. There's so many options, substitutes.
So Camille, I want to kind of dive into the last stronghold that you just mentioned, which is cheese. And so many people love it because it's delicious. I'll just say that in all of its form. Concentrated breast milk is yummy, unfortunately.
Right.
So when you took that out, because it sounds like that's about all you were hanging on to.
Yeah.
What did you notice physically and maybe even emotionally?
Honestly, emotionally, I haven't noticed anything. It's been such a short time, but I definitely noticed that I don't feel so heavy, it's easy I'm an emotional eater. I will always be, and I just have to work on that. But when I have a dish, like I make casseroles for my kids and they love cheese and it's just been filled with cheese and like sour cream. But when you eat too fast, like I tend to do, then you're like overstuffed and feel bloated and gross. So now that cheese is gone, I just feel lighter. You can eat the same amount of food, but it's just less fat and less, crap. So I feel really good. Yeah.
Did you feel, you probably know about the addictive qualities because of the casein, the proteins and the casomorphine. Did you feel somewhat addicted when you were coming off of it? Were there cravings that were hard to not pay attention to?
Yeah, I love feta cheese. It gives that, the salt and that kind of kick to everything. And I did notice it's really more force of habit, but I do think it's addicting. I know sugar is addicting, and a high fat, high salt, high sugar diet, you acclimate to that. And when you start taking those things away, it's your taste buds start to change and acclimate to something new, so that when you go back to those things, they taste not very good. But yeah, I mean, basically I just felt lighter. I think I was thinking it was going to be harder than it was. It's more just a redoing my environment so that I just didn't buy a ton of cheese, and it wasn't sitting there, and I didn't just, grab a block of cheese and cut off a piece and then just keep walking around. But I think what's so funny to me is that people who don't do a plant-based diet, you feel like you eat a big thing of cheese and it feels so filling, but it's just, there's no nutrient value really. I mean, it's calcium or whatever, but anyway, it's just such a standby of, I feel I'm hungry. Let me get a piece of cheese. It's filling, but you're really not getting anything out of it, like an avocado or peanut butter on toast. So anyway, I don't know if that answered your question, but
Definitely.
yeah.
I know, Alexandra and I think I can speak for her on this, don't believe that veganism should ever be considered or even titled, a diet, because it's so much not about the food or losing weight. How do you feel about that statement?
I feel like veganism, vegetarianism, it's a lifestyle change. It's definitely not a diet. Yeah. So when you're investigating a vegan diet, what you're looking for is not, I find I'm not looking to lose weight by converting to veganism. I'm a huge animal lover, and some people aren't, but I lay awake at night. Honestly, I'm not kidding. I wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, and I think about like something I saw on TV about animal abuse, and it keeps me awake at night. So that's a lot of it for me. It is about health, though. It's more about health rather than I want to lose weight, I want to cut calories. So yeah, I don't think it's a diet. It's a lifestyle choice. Yeah.
So you were a chronic dieter, and that's how you got into the profession that you are now, helping people have a healthier relationship with food.
Yes.
And you worked really hard to overcome that dieting mentality, that restricting mentality. When you went from vegetarian to veganism, we have to take out or substitute foods. Did any of that trigger any kind of diet mentality in you?
No, just because veganism to me was more about health reasons and also animal reasons, caring about animals. But no, to me, the only thing that triggers anything for me are my emotional triggers for binge eating. And I've learned how to manage those, but no, converting to a vegan diet over the last month, it's something I wanted to do. It's not something I was trying to do to lose weight or any of that. So my only triggers are stress or, frustration or my kids or things being out of whack. That's what pushes me into the diet, binge, restrict mindset. So, which I'll always, not struggle with it, but it's always there, since I trained myself to do that at age 12. So yeah.
In traversing into your work now, you just mentioned something that is really critical, and I think so many people struggle with. I have struggled with it, and that is management and managing binge eating. So what if we start there with your tools, your suggestions, your how-tos, if you feel like you are going to go into a binge? Someone is listening that was like, just binge last night and woke up this morning feeling ashamed.
Right. Well, first of all, where you have to start with is you got to eliminate the shame involved in that, because if you are a binge eater, you started doing that probably long ago as a way of managing something in your life that was stressful or, I mean, when I was 12, I started associating eating and going into a room by myself, locking the door and eating a bunch of food while I was watching TV. And I knew it was shameful somehow, but I established that pattern. And it wasn't until I was really looking back and saying, why do I use food this way? And once I started to really go way back and understand why I started in the first place from my own personal environment that I was growing up in, I could see how I trained myself to do this. And so what I say to my clients is that you're not a bad person. You're not out of control. It's not that you don't have enough willpower. This is something you trained yourself to do, and you have to go back and in your own personal journey of investigating, figure out why. Ask yourself what you can do to manage the triggers now. Because if you stay in that binge eating binge shame, dieting, failing, you're never going to get to the source of it, and you're never going to solve the problem. It's not about food. It could be drugs, it could be alcohol. It's just emotional eaters have chosen food as a way to manage things. So, yeah.
Okay. Are there any, once you do exactly what you just said, and you really look at the root cause and what it is in your life that's having you lean into this crutch. Let's say I am dealing, I've figured out the root cause and I'm dealing with it, but I still have that crutch for binge eating, and I still tend towards it. Are there any steps as you walk to the refrigerator to begin the binge that you can help people with?
Well, see, you just hit the nail on the head, because most people think of their binge eating as it's just I'm completely zoned out. It's like an impulse. It feels like an impulse, but really there are thoughts that are going through your head as you walk to the refrigerator, as you open it up, grab the food, sit down and eat it. And then definitely, what your thoughts are after. There's shame and, feeling bad about yourself. But that's where you start. I always tell people, whatever your normal binge foods are, chips, whatever, pizza, ice cream, go ahead, allow yourself for a few binges. Allow it. Just stop resisting it. Binge, do your thing. And notice, what are you thinking? What's going through your mind? Because that's when I stopped dieting and finally said, I'm not doing this anymore. That's how I ultimately, I didn't cure myself of it, but it went away, because I was allowing myself, okay, if you want to sit down and eat a pint of Ben & Jerry's, go ahead, have at it. But when I did, and I allowed it, all these different thoughts like, God, this really makes me feel like crap. It's not even really that satisfying. And so you start changing your associations, you change your thoughts. And then once you do that, your habits will change. So all of that working together, plus investigating the source of your emotional eating, all of that, if you start doing that work, it really starts to change things. So.
We had someone on the show talking about emotional eating, saying that it's not a food problem, it's a life problem. And that one shouldn't, a lot of times those of us involved with food will look at the food, it's about the food, it's about the food. And it's really not about the food at all. And it might not even, yes, emotions, but there's under those emotions is maybe a dissatisfaction with some stuff going on in life that hasn't been spoken, a lack of purpose.
Yes.
So talk a little bit about that, because I think a lot of people think it's willpower, and that the binging might just be that they feel angry or bored. But Dotsie, you and I feel angry and bored, and we're not going to food because we have other things. It's not because we've erased the emotions. It's because we have other things going on. Would you not agree? And we've learned to deal with our emotions too.
Right. Well, yeah. When you said there's no purpose, yes, binge eating is definitely not about the food. It's about not dealing with things that are going on in your life. And it's the crutch that it makes you feel better. If you're an emotional eater, it really physiologically makes you feel more relaxed, while you're eating. It calms you down, but you're also avoiding pain. You're not dealing with it. You're not dealing with stress or where the stress is coming from. But what you said, Alexandra, about purpose, there is a lack of purpose, because I always tell my clients, you need to set a goal that has nothing to do with what you look like or your weight. And you need to break it down into steps and start little by little, crossing off that list of those steps. And it starts building your confidence, because women who have been chronically dieting like I did, for years on end, you feel like a failure. And it's almost like, if I can't lose 10 pounds, what am I going to do, like, to change the world or to even change my life? So you have to take this whole separate area of setting a different goal. I ran a marathon. That was mine. And it was exercise related, but it was so empowering and so confidence boosting that all of that confidence started to spill over into other areas of my life, including my health. So I was naturally making better choices. Just having a purpose makes you feel better. You're too busy to sit around and, think about what you're not going to eat today, or like, I'm not going to eat carbs today. I'm going to starve until 3. I mean, you're joyful and excited, and that's just not on your radar, or it is less and less. Yeah.
How is dieting related to someone's self-esteem? You talk about how this specifically related to women's self-esteem, because my guess is maybe your clients are mostly female, so you really have a lot of expertise there. But whether it's men or women, how is it connected to our self-esteem?
Well, it's directly connected for 2 reasons. Number one, your self-esteem cannot be wrapped up in what you look like, although that's what we're taught as women, is that what you have to offer is what you look like. And that's the most important thing. So if that's what you're basing your self-esteem on, and you're constantly like trying to lose weight, you're gaining, you're losing, that's miserable. It makes you feel horrible about yourself. But the other way it's related to self-esteem is that because diets don't work, none of them work. They don't work. And it's not because of the individual foods that they involve. It's because of the structure of diets, which we can talk about if you want to. But when you fail at a diet, and you're going to fail, you might lose weight, you're going to gain it back because you're going to go back to what you were doing, and you fail over and over and over again, it destroys your self-esteem. But we're not looking at diets and is it the diet that doesn't work? You feel like it's you that's not strong enough to stick to it, or you don't have enough willpower. So it destroys your self-esteem.
Does progress, not perfection, resonate? Is that more okay?
Yes,
Not
definitely.
Just like so 100%.
I am balls to the wall, like with everything that I do. I am 100% all or nothing. I'm going to do a 5-mile dead sprint, or I'm not going to do anything. Or I'm going to go, so vegan, there's a good example, but I am going to go balls to the wall with this. I'm excited about this, but I'm definitely now more progress, not perfection, because perfection means that if you don't do it exactly right, you're going to give up and quit. So, and there is no perfection when it comes to food. Food is food. It's not we're all so afraid of it. And it's like this huge thing. And it's just like, it's food. You have control over it. You have control over yourself. You can choose, you can decide, and it doesn't have to be perfect every single day, So that definitely resonates with me.
I actually find that a lot of our food is actually a drug. So I feel like we do lose control because we either through habit but addiction, to cheese, to fat, to salt, to sugar, we lose control. So when I say that, Camille, I'm contradicting what you said. So
no, you're not. Because it is both. It is, you have to, I'm all about educating yourself about food, because if I just tell somebody what to eat, it doesn't stick. So you do have to learn about it and then make your own changes to your behaviors. But it's absolutely true that the food that you eat, that you fuel your body with, has an effect on how you think and what you do. And it is addictive. So I overstated it, but definitely changing what you eat is hugely important. And we are all mostly, I would say, addicted to sugar. It's just, and if we want to go there about carbs, I will happily go there, because it makes me totally crazy for them to fixate on carbs, and carbs are bad. Do you eat carbs? How many carbs do you eat a day? And it's like, stop it. Carbs are not bad. Carbs are your friend. I'm guessing you guys agree with that, but
go into it. Go, sister.
Well, I mean, it's really, I don't mean to sound like I'm being, holier than thou or anything, or putting anyone down, but obviously the carbs that are in, beans or, in a piece of fruit are not the same kind of carbs as in a Coca-Cola or high fructose corn syrup. It's very different. And I think most people know that, but I think, Alexandra, where I was getting missing the link is that people that I talk to want to be told, here's what not to eat. And I feel like people, if you just tell them what to do, it's not going to stick. So the more people can you have to take responsibility and say, let me go learn about this. Let me investigate. Let me research on my own. And the information's out there. But yeah, high fructose corn syrup, I think we all know that that's not a good carb, but carbs are wonderful. Your brain needs carbs. Your brain needs glucose, so the ketone, whatever, that keto diet, I just can't even deal with it. So anyway.
You mentioned the structure of a diet. I for all my disordered eating, I've never followed a diet. I've restricted a lot, but so tell me about the structure when someone sets off saying, I'm going to not eat this or eat that. Mm-hmm. You mentioned the structure of a diet and how it can lower our self-esteem.
Yeah. Well, the reason why diets don't work is because they're all about restricting, changing everything that you eat all at the same time, about cutting out, eliminating, avoiding, and all of that is a very resistant state that it brings on. And if you eat emotionally, when you feel all of that resistance and the resistance towards your body that we all feel at one time or another, that's going to push you to go back to your binge eating, because you're going to go on a diet. It's too many changes all at once, radical changes in a very short amount of time. And it's not sustainable. Anybody can come up with willpower for a week or 2 weeks, and hey, that's great. But then what happens when the diet is over and maybe you lost 5 pounds or 10 pounds? But what do? You go back to exactly what you were doing before. And so that's why they don't work. And I hate about diets that it makes me crazy. And I don't do a lot of private counseling anymore for this very reason, because I would sit down with women and I would explain, like, here's my philosophy. And they would be totally on board and say, I love that. That sounds like me. I really want to do this. But then they would 9 times out of 10 say, okay, tell me what to eat. Give me a meal plan. And I would say, no. I don't want to give you a meal plan, because that's what I mean when I say it's not about the food. It is about the food, but it's like, stop being fixated on getting the perfect meal plan, because there isn't one. And the meal plan I give to you isn't going to work for your sister or your mom or your best friend, because she lives a different life than you do. There are a lot of factors at play, but diets don't work. You do it, you lose weight, you give up, you quit, and you feel like a failure. The weight comes back, and then you do it all over again. And it's like, it's totally insane. And I have to always put in the thing that I'm most passionate about is that it devastates me to see women who are so capable, intelligent, my good friends, like, have so much to offer. And all we sit around doing, not me now anymore, but, oh my God, I'm so fat. Oh my God, I need to lose 5 pounds. Have you heard about Whole30? Have you heard about this? And it's like, what a waste. You'll wake up and you're 60 or 70 and it's like, I wasted my whole life, obsessing about food and what I look like. And it's just, I'm sick of it. I'm ready to help women wake up. I don't think women know what the potential that they have,
I think it's entirely the diet culture and the diet supplement industry that we know is a $60 billion a year industry. It really has purposely confused us on carbs. I was with a dear friend from high school and she was like, I just gotta kind of cut the carbs. I was like, certain kinds of carbs. She's like, well, I mean, they're all kind of bad. And then, I kind of talked her through and that's not true, and helped her to really sort of see the difference, which she answered herself, the difference between, a potato and a lollipop, or an apple and a donut. Right. And then it's like intuitively, was like, oh yeah. But I don't think it just generally makes sense. It doesn't generally just pop into people's head. And I think that's because the diet culture has said, okay, what are people addicted to? Simple carbohydrates. So we'll say, here's the pill so that you won't eat as many carbohydrates. And nobody sits around, binging on like shredded chicken or tofu. So that's not going to work for them to say, okay, we're going to take this. It's and that aspect to it, that they have led us to this and are manipulating us, is a reason enough to dig in and understand good carbohydrates and bad carbohydrates.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. We're being manipulated on a lot of different levels. And I don't think a lot of people are aware of the food industry and their incredible lobbying influence that they have, and the money that's going back and forth between, the Cattlemen's Association or whatever to fund, support the politicians, and then they do favors, and the milk mustache and all of that stuff. Hopefully people are starting to be clued into it, but also I think it's so crazy, don't y'all, that a vegan diet or a vegetarian diet, what is so radical about that? There's really nothing radical about eating fruits and vegetables and whole grains. It's not. It's radical. It's radical to kill, 100 cows and eat it for breakfast, lunch, and dinner every day. I think I can't wait for there to be a real shift. And I love what y'all are doing to help people, start to see that. It's so important. Yeah.
You do have a motto, consistent but not extreme. So if you talk to some of your clients about taking out meat, do you think they'd say, but Camille, that's too extreme?
Yeah, they would. No, so here's the thing for me. My philosophy about vegetarianism and veganism, I don't push it on people, because I find that when I say I'm a vegetarian, my friends all know I am and they're used to it, but people get very threatened and they get their back up a little bit, because I don't think anyone wants to feel like that they are contributing to cruelty to animals. They don't want to face that. So I try not to push it. I just say, I am. Here's why. I feel really good. I feel healthy. I would rather people be 75% vegetarian than 0%. I just say it's much healthier. Meat is, it raises your blood pressure. It causes heart disease. It's not necessary for you to eat meat every single meal, every day of the week. Cut it back. I do, however, say, even if you don't care about animals, and I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on this. I say, even if you don't care about animals, the meat that you're eating and the eggs that you're eating, are from animals that are kept confined with no sunlight, and they're being pumped with hormones and antibiotics. You're eating meat that is really just crap, So I do say grass-fed. How do you guys feel about that? I need to do more investigation. I can see y'all smiling already, but like, my kids drink milk, my kids eat eggs, and we buy the grass-fed milk, and we do cage-free, pasture-raised hens. I feel like I'm doing a good job, a good thing by choosing that, but I would love to hear what you think.
Well, I just want to jump in. Dotsie will talk a lot about the dairy. She knows a lot about it, but
Yeah.
I think a healthy way to go about it is to encourage people to eat more of the beans, greens, fruits, vegetables, nuts, grains, seeds, and
Right.
then less of the dairy and meat. But if you keep pushing the good stuff instead of talking about
Yeah.
what they need to take out, and there's so many substitutions, and I think that's another way people can not feel deprived. Maybe Camille, in the last month, that's the way you didn't feel deprived, is
Right.
by switching out the cow's milk with more than 10 other options that there are out there of other
Definitely. Yeah.
milks.
Well, and you're right. That's an excellent point. I always say to my clients or women that I'm working with that it's always better to add a good habit than it is to try to eliminate a bad one. So you're right. I can just promote heavily, the grains and the fruits and vegetables, which I do. But yeah, instead of saying don't eat this, do more of this. I think you're exactly right. Yeah.
I think one of the best ways to sort of answer your question and think about it is, how we were just talking about the subsidies from the government and the monster marketing push that is out there to get us to eat these foods. So same side of the coin, anytime industry is making money from their trade, whether it's eggs or dairy or meat, you can be sure that the animals are being exploited, even if they use the terms that are completely unregulated to prey on the goodness of you, Camille, and the goodness of what you're trying to do for your children. Cage-free, pasture-raised, natural, grass-fed, bullshit. Sorry.
Yeah.
It is. And the only reason I say that is because I have been to these places and it is a horror show. They
Even
can
the ones
use
that
all
are
of those terms that I just said, and there is no regulation. The USDA does not go check. If they do, it's this. Hello, Mr. Farmer. I'm going to be there on December 2nd. Oh, right now it's August 10th. Yes, that's true. We're a little busy. So what does farmer do? They prepare everything for USDA to come do their check on. So it's unregulated, I think the best way, just like our marketing is completely unregulated. They can say anything they want. Right. And the reason it makes me so frustrated is because people are, I think, inherently good and they want to do good. So they'll buy into that. And what do? It's more expensive for you to buy those.
Well, true. And it's still not healthy. It's still not healthy.
Pasture raised can be pasture, meaning that there's, accessibility to a pasture, which was a hole in a large barn that held thousands of chickens that most of them can't get to. And the pasture is just a piece of dirt. So like Dotsie said, it's so unregulated. The grass-fed is another example. The cows, Dotsie, tell me if I'm wrong, but the cows could be raised in a feedlot and then just grass finished the last 30 days of their life. And is that true, Dotsie, or is it the other way around?
That's a great point, because that is a grass finished cow, but nobody ever, they're really, really expensive. Grass fed, and I just know this from the beef farm, the organic pasture raised beef farm that had only about 25 cows in northern PA where I was. And I was there a day that he sent a couple cows off to slaughter. But they were eating grass. They were both about 6 months old, male beef cattle. Where they were headed was to the feedlot to fatten up. And I said, well, how long will they be there? And he said, 3-4 months. And I said, but they won't be eating grass. He's like, oh no, they have to fatten them up. So it's grain. That is legal to say grass fed. So, but the last 3 months before they were slaughtered, they're fattening them up on a feedlot that has nothing to do with grass.
I like to use the analogy that just because you gave somebody a really nice last meal, or you put them in a really nice living room for a little bit, if in the end you slaughter them,
Yeah. It's, oh gosh.
Sorry, you asked.
No, that was okay. Listen, I've seen Meet Your Meat. I've seen it, and it's atrocious. But
good for you for watching those. I know it's really hard for people to do it, and sometimes what helps is to do things like watching the Game Changers, where which is inspiring and doesn't make people just feel guilty about all and then once they've made the switch, they have more courage and more conviction about watching the things that are difficult. And just what it does is shore up their decision that they made from watching the Game Changers, which has positive messaging.
That's good. And so here's where I am with my daughters. It's really important for me to let them learn how to make their own decisions when it comes to food. I want them to learn how to feed themselves. I'm not going to I have a lot of friends who restrict their kids, like you can't eat that. Don't eat before dinner time. I'm not going to let you have dessert. I've always let them eat exactly what they want, even when it's crap, because I want them to see this makes me feel like crap. And then they watch me, Mommy, why don't you eat this? And then, that whole thing. So now they eat much more healthy and they're choosing. So I've gradually incorporated, they have seen the Game Changers. I've shown them a couple of videos, like a 1-minute video of like a slaughterhouse, and they were in tears. I just want to get them slowly on board. I don't want to, they love animals. It's awful. It's a balance. Like I want to show it. I don't want to freak them out and make them totally devastated. And then they're going to feel bad. Like, well, I went to the birthday party and they had cake and it had milk in it and eggs in it. And now, I want them to gradually figure it out. But honestly, Alexandra, I looked you up. I knew you were on Baywatch, but I just wanted to read more about you. I was trying to figure out how you and Dotsie even met. But on your Wikipedia page, it said something about your brother, an animal rights activist. And I looked him up and I was like, that guy is my hero. He burned down a horse slaughterhouse. Is that right? Okay, should I not have brought that?
No, he was the lookout, and he's now a wildland firefighter. The story is very complicated, but he was in jail for 4 years.
The horses.
I'm sorry, but
there. Oh no, it's okay to bring it up because you could just Google my brother Jonathan Paul and find it. But there were no one was hurt. But the fact that someone could have been hurt makes them realize that now it's just a more complicated issue. But yes, the town of Redmond, Oregon was a town that the slaughterhouse had been going on for years, and the townspeople hated the slaughterhouse because the blood and the hair from the horses would block up the sewage in that town, and the smells were horrible. So. And luckily that slaughterhouse has not been rebuilt. And in fact, horse slaughter is now banned in the United States, for better or for worse, because now they bring horses down to Mexico or up to Canada, which I think there are new rules now, even stopping that. But having said that, totally fine for you to bring it up.
I apologize. Yeah.
No apology needed. I'm very proud of my brother.
Yeah, I thought that was amazing. That's total commitment. And I was very inspired by that. I'm sorry he had to spend time in jail. So if I overstepped, but I just wanted you to know, I think your brother is amazing.
Oh, thank you. No, when you break the law, that's what you do for animals. You need to pay for it. It wouldn't have been right if he had gotten off scot-free because he did do damage to property that wasn't his. Yeah. But on the other hand, a lot of good came out of it. And, fringe animal rights activists, I believe, are people who move the needle so that the mainstream becomes more kind towards animals.
Yeah.
Anyway, Camille, back to you. Dotsie, you were going to say something, I think?
No, just your brother is amazing.
Camille, I wanted to commend you because it sounds like you're a wonderful mother, just a wonderful mother. And I wanted to ask you about how you raise your daughters contrast for how you were as a child, because it was your childhood relationship with food, which you talked a little bit about earlier, that made you the woman you are today, and the person who's helping all these other people who struggle too. Tell us a little bit about how you grew up and how that affected your relationship with food and how you went, I'm not going to raise my kids like that.
Oh yeah. Well, mostly how I don't want to raise my daughters, and they're unfortunately already getting these messages, but to focus so extremely on what they look like, because that was a big message in my family. I grew up in Georgia, and in general in the South, I find that women get the message, little girls get it, and then women get it, that you need to be quiet and look pretty and be thin, just basically be unobtrusive. And nobody wants to hear your opinion. Nobody cares what you have to say. I learned how to talk really fast early on to get it in there before somebody shut me down. But yeah, so my mission for my daughters is to teach them how to have autonomy and make their own choices, and mostly to not get so obsessed with what they look like. But it's really hard now because the messages are the media, there's so many more media outlets that are promoting that. It's just me. I've got my voice and I've got my whole thing that I'm doing in this career, this company that I'm building. So I'm constantly talking to them about these things. That's really all you can do, because they get on TikTok and it's like, they see all this stuff. I know your listeners can't see me doing the duck lips and all that, but that's what they see. And they're, what my youngest said to me a few weeks ago, Mommy, am I ugly? Mommy, am I fat? And it's like, she's 11, and it's really hard, but that's my mission, is to have them, no one talk to me about any of these things. We just didn't talk about it, I just absorbed all these messages. And now that I realize that it's all bullshit, that's my job, is to teach them that it's not real. The airbrushing, all of this that you see, it's not real. And that's not, I want them to have a goal, basically, that has nothing to do with what they look like. So that's what I'm doing. Hopefully it will work.
We talk about the importance of environment in losing weight. And I'd like to traverse that a bit. Exactly what does that mean? And then how do you adjust your environment? And this may play into what you're just talking about the daughters, and no more TikTok or something. I don't know.
Right. Yeah. I think they would revolt. But
right.
Yeah, your environment is hugely important, because it affects how you think and how you feel, which affects what you do. So your environment that you're in constantly is pushing you to do the things that you do constantly. And I think most people don't realize, you're so used to seeing your environment that you don't notice what's actually around you. But I could go into someone's kitchen and easily see 5 things that they've got that are keeping them from eating healthy, that they could just modify. And you can actually, your environment can make decisions for you if you set it up and do a few small minor changes. Just by moving something out of the way or putting it out of sight, that's just one extra step that you would have to go through to get to that food. If you don't see it, it's small stuff, but it's very powerful stuff. So yeah.
That reminds me of Alexandra's a health coach, and she teaches people, to put stuff on the way top shelf, or the way not in your line of sight.
Yes, it matters. It's very
Camille,
important.
you have a really good free offering on your site about how to clean up your kitchen. And
yes, I do.
I received it and thought it was excellent.
Good.
So I recommend people go to Camille's site and download that. But tell us about, maybe give 5 of those little tips of what someone can do with their environment, whether it's the kitchen or somewhere else, that could help them start a journey of eating more healthily. Or if, for example, they're trying to make the transition to vegan, how that might apply.
Yeah. Well, so the simplest thing is, like you said, move the things out of your line of sight that you don't want to eat, which is a thing. It's not just like don't buy it, but if you have kids, you do have to buy some things that you don't want to eat. So move it out of the way, get a snack drawer, put it in there so you're not looking at it. Then put out stuff that you do want to eat. Most people say, well, I don't feel like, I'm not craving an apple. But if you have a fruit bowl on the countertop, you will walk by and you will see that apple and you will be much more likely to eat it. So Put stuff out that you want to eat, put stuff away that you don't. One of my biggest things is that I'll open up someone's refrigerator and it's like stuff falling out of it, and you need to clean it out, purge it. And people have a hard time. Like, I don't want to throw it away. I feel like I'm being wasteful, but I'd rather throw it out and have, a few days of where it's all cleared out and you can see what you actually have than just let it sit in there and rot anyway. It makes you totally defeated. You want to walk out of your kitchen and say, I don't feel like cooking. Clean out your fridge, clean out everything in your kitchen, so it's streamlined and there's space. If you don't have stuff to cook with that you need, because it's all cluttered up, and you can't even see what you need. You need to clean it out, basically. My big thing is that you need to cook. If you want to take charge of your health, you have to do a little bit of cooking. You have to experiment. If you think you hate to cook, you probably never tried it. So you got to get in there and and experiment with foods and be hands-on with it. That helps decrease the fear-based relationship that a lot of people have with it. So yeah.
That's great. Yeah. And for those apples, I need them actually cut up and put in a container, and that makes them more,
that's a good one.
More appealing to me after I've cleaned out the fridge, like you recommend.
Yes. No, that's true. I should have said that one first. I get up every morning and I have a full 30 minutes of chopping, prepping, put it in Tupperware, and it's there. Because I get busy, I get stressed out, and my kids are running around. I don't want to make a salad, but if all the ingredients are chopped up and washed and ready to go, it's easy. Yeah.
Have you eaten out since you and your partner have become vegan, and how has that been?
So you can eat out, and unless you're going to a barbecue ribs place, there's always a way to make it work. Get a salad. Shoot, I've been known to bring an avocado with me and a knife in my purse, cut it up and put it on your salad if it's not satisfying. If you're committed, you can eat. It's not hard. Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, I went to Red Rock, Nevada this past weekend to hike, which is just right outside of Las Vegas. And this restaurant in Las Vegas was suggested to me. It's called Blackout Dining, and you dine in the pitch black. And I mean, like you can't see your hand or your nose. You can't, nothing. It is a 7-course plant-based restaurant. They don't advertise it very much. So everybody's there. And I think a lot of people don't realize that that's what's going to happen, but we knew, because we had, it was a vegan that suggested it to us. So
right.
I went with my cousin to Blackout Dining, and I noticed 2 things when I took away the sense of sight. First of all, I ate so much slower because I didn't want to dribble it all over myself. You're really kind of feeling around and finding the spoon. And I came up with an empty spoon a lot because I hadn't quite done. I ate so much slower. And then the experience of the food in my mouth was completely different. It's just a lot more intense. So it got me thinking, like, I'm a really, really fast eater. You said that earlier that you are. And I can just eat faster than anyone on the planet. Okay. This Alexander's too. And I thought, I wonder if sometimes if I closed my eyes during a meal, I would appreciate the food more. I would eat slower. And so I'm curious about your kind of thoughts on that, and the 5 senses and how we're connected to food in those ways, and how we might just slow down a bit.
Well, that's such a good question. That's a really cool concept, the blackout eating. I always tell people, if you are doing something like watching TV while you eat, or sitting at your computer eating your lunch and working while you eat, you are absolutely not involved in what you're eating. You're not noticing how it tastes. And that is so true. You're more likely to shovel it in. So I tell people, one really big modification that you can make is just getting away from your computer screen. And I love to go outside and eat, even when it's cold. I bundle up, I'll take my lunch out and sit on my patio. And when you're noticing it, when it's not you and a screen and people running around, and you are sitting there and you're taking bites and you're noticing the flavor. And also, when you cook your own meal, you're more likely to slow down and experience it rather than just, scarf it down. But I definitely think that a lot of the sensation of the food and eating it and the texture and the individual components and the flavors gets completely obliterated when you're staring at a television screen or a computer screen. So yeah, slowing down is a huge one. I have to work on that. I mean, I sit in front of my computer. I have to say, I do. I sit in front of the computer and I eat because I'm so busy, and I work on it. But yeah, that's a good one. Slow down.
I really felt, I eat in front of the computer at lunch, and a lot of times, especially like during the Olympics, my husband and I just had the TV on, like the second we sat down to eat, we're going to watch this. So just not being present. And I noticed it at Blackout Dining. I really noticed when I was full. It's 7 courses. The first 5 are appetizers, but they're pretty hearty. They're not little tiny bites. So by the 5th course, both my cousin and I said, I can't even eat the main course. Like, I am done. I am full. I am satiated. But when I eat in front of the TV or computer, I never know if I'm full, not full. I just make amount of food and I just eat it all. And then I'm like, I'm not hungry more. And that's another, I think, connectivity to, have you actually had enough? Are you actually full?
Well, yeah, you do. If you eat, I need to look that up and make sure that's not an accepted fact, that it's not actually a fact. But I have always heard 20 minutes, if you wait, and 20 minutes after you've eaten, that's when you start noticing the feeling of fullness. So if you eat in 10 minutes and you eat this huge, another thing, like an environmental change that I think is a good one, is to make actually a smaller plate of food, and eat it more slowly. And yeah, a lot of the times I work on this, but not making so much food, because you're more likely to just eat it. And if you're zoned out, you're definitely going to eat it. And then you don't notice when you're full. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, I feel like I just swallowed a brick, So yeah.
Yeah, they do say that when folks buy larger family size containers to save money, they actually tend to eat more of them each time. And so when you said about eating less, also another visual is that we eat everything. I'll speak for myself. I eat everything on my plate. If I couldn't see it, then I would be more apt to be like Dotsie was, which is more discerning instead of just judging my fullness by how much food there is in front of me.
Yeah, true. We're conditioned to clean our plate from our depression era parents, I think. Yeah. Not wasting it. And
so we like to ask our guests a set of 5 questions that we ask them all.
Okay.
So just rapid fire, don't even have to think about it too much.
Oh gosh. Okay. I'm ready.
So, Camille, what is the worst advice you've ever gotten?
The worst advice I've ever gotten, probably from my dad, like, don't try because you might fail. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Don't do that. It's too risky. Yeah.
Glad you obviously have ignored that advice. Good on you.
Yes.
So what is the one thing you try to do each day that really makes an impactful difference in your life?
It's really just spread, it sounds corny, but to spread joy with everyone that I come into contact with and make them feel, using their first name, making them feel seen and cared about. Yeah.
Share something beautiful that happened to you in the last 24 hours.
My daughter crawled into bed with me at 3:00 this morning and started talking to me about the art project she blew up in my kitchen.
Oh, yeah. Nice. What's one thing that you do to shake off stress?
Probably go for a run. Yeah. It used to be drinking, and I've been sober for a year, so that's not it anymore. Yay.
Well, congratulations. That's huge. Did you say 1 year?
1 year, 2 days ago. Yeah.
Happy birthday. Wow.
Thank you.
Great. Great. What is one good habit that you're proud to have cultivated?
One good habit. Let's see. Oh my gosh. Why am I not able to think of one good habit? Probably going to bed early. Like I go to bed at like 7:30. I get in and I go to sleep at 8:30 and getting up early. Yeah, I'm an early bird. So yeah, not drinking. Now that's a big one now.
It sure is.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much. It's been wonderful to have you on the show. You really, we appreciate you sharing your own journey, as well as all the wisdom that you have that you share with your clients.
Well, thank you. I loved being on. It was really fun. Thank you for having me.
Hey, folks. Okay. Back by very popular demand is our plant-powered plate fridge magnet, which you are going to receive for free if you leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening to this podcast on. So here are the details. Just write your quick review. Does not need to be long, does not need to be a whole story. Just be honest and speak from the heart. Then take a quick screenshot of the review you wrote and email it to us at podcast@switchforgood.org. That's podcast@switchforgood.org. And include your mailing address so we can send you a power plate. We are doing this because the more reviews we garner, the higher we go in search results, which means more folks will learn about our podcast. So the power is in your hands. Leave us a review and zoom, your power plate arrives at your doorstep.
So thank you so much for tuning in today. If we helped you in any way, then click the subscribe button and let's keep hanging out together. We have so much more to share with you.
And if you need more information on actually making the switch for good, please visit us at switchforgood.org for loads of info. And you can subscribe to our mailing list where you will receive all sorts of super cool gifts, discount codes to our very fave dairy-free products, and a lifetime of powerful health tips.
So join us on the journey to switch for good. This is the future.